Lies of P was such a surprise for me. I went in expecting another decent but forgettable Souls-like, and walked away convinced it's the best one outside of anything FromSoftware has made. It nailed the fundamentals so well that for the first time in years, I not only finished a non-FromSoft Souls-like, I loved every second of it. And now, naturally, I'm thinking about the sequel. Not because Lies of P needs to fix something broken, it doesn't, but because there's so much potential to expand, refine, and elevate what made the first game so special. If Round8 Studio gets this right, the sequel could stand shoulder to shoulder with the greatest games in the genre. The first thing I want in a sequel is more varied environments. The original game already had some incredible locations, haunting streets, eerie mansions, sprawling factories, but I think they can push it even further. Imagine a wider range of biomes. Misty forests crawling with mechanical horrors, massive crumbling bridges over stormy seas, underground cities lit by flickering lanterns. Part of what makes FromSoft's world so memorable is how each new area feels fresh, distinct, and worth exploring just to see what's around the next corner. The sequel could lean even harder into that environmental variety, so every chapter feels like stepping into a brand new nightmare. Next, let's talk enemy variety and AI. The enemies in Lies of P were great, creative, challenging, and visually striking. But in the sequel, I'd love to see more unpredictable behavior. Enemies that adapt mid-fight, ambush you in unexpected ways, or even coordinate with each other. Imagine fighting an enemy that changes attack patterns depending on how aggressive you are, or groups that work together to corner you. This would make exploration feel more tense, because you never quite know what's coming. Now on to combat depth. Lies of P already nailed the fundamentals of weight, timing, and precision, but I think they could push the customization system even further. The blade and handle mixing mechanic was genius. It made me constantly experiment with my loadout. In the sequel, I'd love to see more unique weapon classes, more experimental movesets, and maybe even a system that lets you modify special abilities for each weapon. It would keep combat feeling fresh for the entire playthrough, and give players more reasons to replay the game with different builds. One area that could really elevate the experience is boss design. The first game already delivered some incredible bosses, but for the sequel, I'd like to see them go even more ambitious. Give us multi-phase fights where the environment changes mid-battle. Give us moments where the boss uses the terrain to its advantage, forcing us to reposition and adapt on the fly. And please, keep that balance between difficulty and fairness, because Lies of P nailed that better than most games in the genre. Then there's the world building and lore. Lies of P's story was engaging, mysterious, and surprisingly emotional. The Pinocchio inspiration gave it a unique identity. For the sequel, I'd love to see them lean even harder into that fairy tale meets nightmare vibe. Maybe bring in new literary inspirations, dark reimaginings of other classic tales, and weave them into the same universe. The moral choice system was a brilliant touch, so expanding it could make the sequel even more replayable. Give us more branching paths, more long-term consequences, and more ways our decisions shape the world and its characters. Speaking of characters, the sequel could really benefit from more memorable NPCs. Lies of P already had some great ones, but I think they can go bigger. Think along the lines of FromSoft's most iconic quest lines. Characters who feel alive, who have their own goals, and whose fates can change drastically depending on how you interact with them. This would make the world feel richer and more personal. Another big opportunity is post-game content. Lies of P was satisfying from start to finish, but I can imagine a sequel with meaningful endgame challenges, optional boss gauntlets, unique gear locked behind extreme trials, and maybe even secret areas that only open after your first playthrough. Something that gives veteran players a reason to keep playing long after credits roll. And finally, let's talk quality of life improvements. Lies of P was already very respectful of the player's time, but there are small tweaks that could make a sequel even smoother. Faster load times between deaths, more intuitive UI for weapon crafting, and maybe even a training area where you can test out new weapons and moves before committing to them. Little things like that can go a long way in keeping players engaged. In short, what I want from a Lies of P sequel isn't a complete overhaul. I don't want them to throw out what made the first game great. I want them to build on it. More variety, more depth, more world building, and more surprises. Lies of P set a new standard for non-FromSoft Souls-likes. If Round8 Studio takes what worked, expands on it, and isn't afraid to get even more creative, the sequel could be more than just great. It could be legendary. And after what they've already achieved, I have no doubt they're capable of delivering exactly that.